Good morning, Judith.
Good morning, Sonya.
Welcome to the Coach's Cup. I'm Sonya Green, SonyaGreenCoaching.com.
And I'm Judith Fender. I'm a coach with the No BS program, No BS weight loss program. Corinne Crabtree, losing 100.
Yeah. All right. Well, in case you can't tell, in big bold letters behind Judith, today we are talking about shame.
Mm.
And, this has been on our list, on our podcast list for a while. And we would refer to it. I think we've referred to it a couple of times in other episodes that we needed to have a podcast on it. We certainly talk about it in our own time. It's something that comes up all the time in our coaching.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so today we are devoting the time to talking about shame because as a society, as a culture, we are so good
Mm.
at carrying it around and letting it weigh us down.
Mm-hmm. So true. Um, some light, airy conversation this morning for your Thursday morning commute.
Yeah. Um,
And why
so
is that? Why do we carry shame?
why do we carry shame?
Mm-hmm.
That's, we have been, I guess, it's been used for a long time, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we
Mm-hmm.
have examples of shame historically from hundreds and thousands of years ago that it was used in communities.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so our brains are very attuned to the feeling of shame. And as far as when you think about feelings that cause you pain, I mean, that's right at the top, right?
It's the I cannot think of a worse feeling. I'm like, truly.
Yeah, it's the truth. I mean, that, Brene Brown has made her career
Mhm. Mhm.
on studying shame
Same. Mhm.
because, and it's kind of amazing that it took somebody this long to want to dig into it. I think that even speaks to,
Right. The taboo of it.
yes.
Mhm. No one talked about it until.
No, no. And that's one of the things that we're going to talk about today. Thanks to her work, um, we know so much more about it. And one of the things that we know is when you start shining a light on shame,
Yes. Yes.
it doesn't survive as well.
It's so true.
Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't mean there's no more work to do it. We just say it and it's gone.
Full disclosure, Sonia and I had private conversations before before this podcast, deciding how deep were we going to go
Yeah.
because of the nature of the topic, and we both have pulled back. We're not quite,
Yeah.
you know, sharing both of us have experienced shame.
For episode 100, maybe
Maybe.
we'll we'll get to what our shame spirals were caused by.
I mean, there's one I could talk around that might be easier than the other, but that just goes to show I will talk about anything, but do I really want it out there? Am I quite ready to
Oh,
like
right.
podcast it out there to the world?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
but I'll talk about it to my friends and I'll
Yeah.
share with my clients on a private level. But not, oh, I couldn't hear you.
Baby steps.
Baby steps. Yeah, you've got a little.
Huh. Interesting. Well, I'm
Yeah, there
sorry
we
about
go.
that.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Um, so when we're yeah, what I was thinking of when you were talking about that, shining a flashlight versus like the bat signal on it.
It's hovering above your house, the bat
Yeah.
light.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're going to talk about flashlight level,
Mm-hmm.
which, that's important
Yeah.
because shame has been used as a way, I guess this is what we were
Yep.
starting to talk about in the beginning, as a way to control members of a
Mm-hmm.
community.
Mm-hmm. It
Um,
kept you in line.
yes.
It kept you with your herd, your pack,
Hmm. Yeah,
and
because nobody wants to be shamed out of the community.
Whew.
So we'll just scare you straight. We'll scare you, and I don't mean that in I mean that in terms of if you're doing something wrong, then you must be bad and we're gonna scare you good.
Right. Now, let's
It's
so
a
we're
good behavior.
clear, just so we're clear, it's the thought
Yes.
that the individual has that what they have done, that they are bad,
Yeah.
that creates the shame.
Well, and sometimes, that's exacerbated by the thought of the group that you're in.
Correct.
So, if you are, think about elementary school teachers. And listen, folks, if you are an elementary school teacher, you have all of my respect because I don't know how you do what you do. I have one 7-year-old, and I feel a lot of shame sometimes about the way
What?
I parent him.
No.
But one of the things, because of a personal experience in my life with my first grade teacher, um, I often think about she shamed me publicly for, um, for whatever reason. I know now it had more to do with her. It didn't really have to do with
Mhm.
me. I was just who ended up getting blamed for her inadequacies. But, she used shame to make me behave in a way that she wanted me to behave. And so,
Control.
yeah, she would, you're bad. And I would easily accept that. Oh, I'm bad.
Mm.
Not that my behavior wasn't appropriate. And I do think that's where, elementary teachers today are very good at separating the behavior, I think, from the moral distinction of
Mhm.
you're bad versus your action was bad.
Yeah.
And ultimately that's where it comes from. It's not ingrained in who we are. It's an action. We had a thought which created a feeling, and that feeling drove an action that now causes us shame.
I'm just nodding in agreement. Just
Yeah.
my mind is traveling down some paths.
You know, and we do. We all carry a certain level of shame for
Mhm.
things. And I think the reason that we wanted to talk about it today was to get you to start thinking about as our listeners, what is the thing that you're carrying around that's causing you shame? Because it's just shame is a feeling, and it's a negative feeling.
Mhm.
So, what kind of action is it going to produce, Judith?
Mm. Not the results you want. It's
Yeah.
gonna it's gonna end up in a negative somewhere. A
Yeah.
behavior, another overeating, over drinking,
Yes.
overspending.
Yeah, shame, there's it causes 3 types of behavior.
Mm.
It causes hiding,
Mm. Mhm.
and usually if there's hiding, then we are shutting down and trying to numb that feeling, and we numb it, people numb it with food, they numb it with alcohol, they numb it with drugs, they numb it with shopping. Yeah, just there are a variety of ways that they numb that pain,
Mhm.
trying to hide it. The other way is they push back against it.
Mm.
And you see this a lot. I think it's easy to see in teenagers.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to push back against that because they don't know how to react. So they feel like they've been pushed into a corner with this feeling of shame, and they're just going to lash out. And then the third way, and I think this is where you see people go with it. Sometimes they react to shame with this hypersense of discipline. I'm gonna, just do everything just right. I'm not gonna, um,
Mm.
and I'm gonna power my way through it, or willpower my way through it, um, rather than facing it. All three are ways of trying to stop the pain without accepting and processing the pain.
Mm. Interesting. Willpowering your way through shame.
Yeah. Well, have you seen, I mean, people do that. Like, one way that comes to mind is I see people go on a really strict exercise regime or a
Mm.
really strict diet. I'm gonna do this. I am so ashamed. My health is bad. I'm gonna take care of this. It's almost like I deserve to be punished into good health. They want to exercise for
Right.
hours every day, and they only want to eat, vegetables and water. Or I mean, you see, it's like this hyper sense of discipline
Yeah.
that they're almost trying to do some kind of penance for whatever it is that they've done, whether it's allowed themselves to gain weight or whatever.
Or the judgment they've placed on their inability to lose weight,
Yeah. Yeah. And
which
all of
keeps the
those.
cycle going.
Exactly, because what
Mhm.
do you do? It's funny. We have laughingly talked about this before, but if you're hiding your shame and numbing, what does that create? It creates somebody who eats more, because how do you numb? You numb with food. So I'm so ashamed I weigh this much. Now I'm gonna go eat a bag
Right.
of chips
Yep.
to feel better, which, guess what that does? That's why we call it a shame spiral. We could have drawn a little tornado thing.
Oh, well, here.
I guess it gets bigger, doesn't it? Yeah. Are you gonna give
Oh.
us a spiral? Yeah. It's a shame spiral because we get started on it and it just keeps on. There's no end. Whether you're trying to numb it and shut down, whether you're pushing back, it's just you are only gonna get a negative result
Mm.
from shame.
You're just going to keep attracting it. You're going to find evidence for the ways that
Yes.
you are that you are bad, that you are wrong.
Yeah. I deserve this. I deserve this pain.
Mhm.
I deserve not to be happy.
Mm.
And what we don't realize, and by the way, we've used this for so long. If it worked, none of us would have bad behavior. None of us would make bad choices. But guess what? We're all still out there doing the things that we do and trying to hide our shame or, discipline ourselves into better behavior. So it doesn't work.
Doesn't work.
I mean, as it just does not work to keep people in line.
Yeah.
But we haven't figured out a better way to deal with it, so we just keep on doing it.
Yeah.
So I think the main thing I want to say today is we know it doesn't work. So, and we know that it's a feeling caused by a thought. So if you really want to serve yourself, what thought can you think instead? I think a lot about things that I've done in my past that have caused me shame. And it's difficult to get outside of myself with that.
Mhm.
So what I'll try to think is, when I have friends who come to me with a problem, how do I react to them? I don't
Mm.
heap shame on them.
Mhm.
I don't say, "Sheesh, you're really bad." I don't, I'm gonna have to revisit us being friends. I'm not sure that's good for me. I don't do that. That's ridiculous. I have compassion for them.
Mhm.
I have understanding. I tell them it's it's gonna be okay. So I think the main thing I want people to understand is you need to be that person for yourself.
Mhm.
You need to find a way to look at the situation, no matter how bad you think it is, no matter how much pain it has caused you. You need to look at that situation with some compassion.
Right. I would offer that, when you're feeling shame, that it is because of the self-judgment that you're
Mhm.
placing on yourself, and that what you're offering, because so many of us don't think of the compassion component because we are so involved in our story,
Yeah.
that to ask yourself, you know, what am I feeling? What am I thinking? And then from that place, drop in, how can I have some compassion for me in this moment? How could this be like the most human thing ever? Allow yourself to feel those feelings.
Yeah. And I think if you are a perfectionist or if you call yourself a perfectionist, then what that basically means is that you're really good at using shame to try to direct your path.
You know, did we do perfectionism?
I don't we've talked about it. I don't think we have
I,
a separate podcast on it. Maybe we need to put
interesting.
that
I
on
was,
the list.
I was, I don't know who I was listening to. I listened to a lot, but talking about perfectionism really stemming from fear. And so
Yeah.
it's interesting to hear you say that about um, shame
Yeah.
and perfectionism and fear, all those negative energy feelings.
Yeah.
Because it's the fear of not being perfect and then the shame of not being perfect.
Mhm.
Hmm.
And it's just not, we talk about sometimes arguing with reality. It, folks, we're not perfect. Nobody's perfect. Nobody. We all have fears, we all have shame. I think we've said this before, but um the more I the longer I live and the more people I meet and the more people I coach, the more I realize we all are so similar.
We are, and it's incredible how we, like, you can hear someone else, just like your example of dropping into compassion. If you were
Yeah,
talking to your friend, you
yeah,
wouldn't shame them, but how we all put this upon ourselves.
yeah,
And when we're listening to our clients, how we can just have that be that outside brain and just with fascination, just be like, wow,
yeah,
what a, how predictable that we
yeah,
all these feelings can be from a thought.
yeah. And so that I mean, this should be really good news to you if you're listening to this or
Mm.
watching us, because it means that you have the power over it.
Mhm. Mhm.
You're giving your power to shame, and you can decide not to do that. And, um, usually the first step in that, as uncomfortable as it can be, is sharing it with somebody,
Mhm.
sharing it somehow. Maybe it's writing it in your journal.
True.
Maybe you've never
Mhm.
even, you have hidden it so deep that you've never even written about it. And
Mhm.
maybe that's the first step you take. There's a lot of power. I know sometimes my clients probably get tired of hearing me talk about journaling, but there's so much
Mhm.
power
Mhm.
in getting it out of your brain, even on paper. So if it's something that you're not comfortable talking to another person about, if that's not even on the table, then put it on paper and then shred it, you know? burn it,
Yeah.
throw it away. But the fact that you have pulled it out of your brain and said, I'm not going to hide this anymore, and you've written it down, is an incredible release.
It is. It is. I shared something. I got some coaching on something that I was carrying some shame about. And I remember her saying she had no clue. Well, maybe she did. She was like, come on. Didn't we all do things as a kid we regret? Like, isn't that part of growing up? And I was like, in my brain, like all it took was sharing my story with someone else and having that outside brain say that to me and me to question and see that it was just my own self-judgment around my story.
Yeah, I don't care what it is, folks. I don't. It doesn't matter what it is. You are not the first person
Yeah.
to behave in that way, and it does not make you a bad person who needs to be separated from society because of your badness.
Yeah.
Let me give you that if that helps at all, because we have all done things. I mean, somewhere there's probably 10,000 somebodies who have done what you've done.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you need to punish yourself. Punishing yourself doesn't help you be your best self.
No. And there is healing in sharing
Yes.
and moving through processing through shame
Yes.
that you can find relief and come to a better just a better awareness of how human you are.
Yeah. And let's face it, if it's in the past, there's nothing you can do about it except decide that you're going to, I mean, you can either continue to hide and numb or continue to, try to discipline yourself into being a better person, or you can start finding a way out of that and thinking, what did I learn from this?
Right.
How can I be compassionate about those decisions? How can I find some way to be a better person because of it? And that's what we're all going for, I think.
Yeah. Better person.
All right. Anything else you want to say about shame?
So before this podcast, I'm thinking about shame. I did go down I was like, Garth Brooks and that song, Shameless. He's shameless. Like, what did that mean? What is he telling us in that song? That he would do absolutely anything for that woman?
Yeah. Huh.
That's where my brain went. Like, what is this? So Garth was willing, or was he just willing to feel any feeling? To be shameless?
Huh. So I will make a confession here. I know that song, but I am not a country music person, and I'm trying to access, like, I know of the song, but I can't access the lyrics right now. Sorry for all you country
He's a
music
fool for
people.
her love. He's a fool for her love. And apparently,
Huh.
I can't quite think of the lyrics either, except for the chorus. He's shameless.
Yeah.
And
Well, in the
like, what a
moment,
gift. Like, he just gifted himself.
well, that's the thing about shame too. It usually doesn't happen in the moment. It's easy to be shameless in the moment. It's that next morning that you're like, all the shame.
No, maybe he has written a song since then, a follow-up.
Yeah.
I'm
A little
sure.
shame. Not quite shameless.
I don't know. Just something to think
That's
about
funny.
when we move through our day today. How could
Yeah.
Garth be shameless? What's going
Yeah.
on?
Well, we should, quite honestly, give him some credit. We should all be shameless.
Yeah.
Um, And that does not mean that we don't need to try to make good choices. Don't hear me
Right.
say that.
Absolutely. Right. Right.
Don't
Right.
hear me
Right.
say that. But we need to understand that we all do make bad
Yes.
decisions at times. It's a learning. It's part of our learning. We talked
Yeah.
last week about failure leading to success. Those
Hmm.
bad choices, those are our failures. And we can learn from them or we can hide and numb.
Yep. Yep.
And if we do that, if you sit in shame, you're not going to learn anything.
Yep.
So, so in that sense, we need to all be shameless.
That is a really good wrap up, Sonia. I'm going to give you props for that.
All right. Well, sometimes I can pull it out at the end there. All right. Well, if you enjoy this podcast as much as we do, if that's possible, then please go to iTunes or our YouTube channel, the Coaches Cut Podcast, and give us a 5-star review. We would love to have that. We'd love to hear your comments.
We're
If you have,
shameless.
yeah, yeah.
Give us a 5-star.
Garth, are you listening? I guess Garth probably doesn't listen. Um, but I saw Trisha in Kroger one day. So
Did you really? I was going to say you're right there in Nashville area.
yeah,
You
yeah.
probably
So
are neighbors.
maybe she listens to us. They can give us a 5-star review.
Yeah.
But anyway, um, give us a 5-star review and we'd also love your comments on topics you want us to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, we just keep deciding.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
All right. We'll see you next week.
Bye, Sonia.
Bye-bye.